To open this. Thank you very much, Mr. Stambodis. It's a rare treat to have a considered and detailed presentation on this region. Usually the regional approach, I totally agree, is very, very important, given particularly the various competitive advantages and at the same time challenges facing this region. It is a region that has, as the presentation very clearly showed, Turkey is much larger than the rest of the region, therefore it has a potential to contribute significantly to the region, perhaps more significantly than its other neighbors, but it also is facing challenges being to the east of the region and with the assumption that it's closer to various sources. My first comment and question rather, this one, is with respect to the energy mix in Turkey. I saw in the outlook that Turkey will continue a significant amount of coal consumption, but as the renewables increase, the projection is that Turkey's use of gas will be correspondingly decreasing. This is in keeping with the political decisions that we have heard rather recently. But on the other hand, my question is that the outlook also foresees a rapid growth for Turkey of its GDP. And the International Energy Agency outlook that came out, really was presented 2 days ago. It is predicted by IEA that gas will be plentiful, and in the foreseeable future, the glut or somewhere near glut is likely to continue. Therefore, one can anticipate depressed gas prices. What would be your assessment of the fact that this would give Turkey an opportunity to use affordably more gas for intermittent supplies, so consequently be in the medium to longer term much more environmental friendly? My second point is that the Turkey's role and that of the region via Turkey is has been a central topic of conversation with respect to Europe's energy security, essentially the southern corridor as opposed to Russian domination of gas supply to Europe. And that discussion started just about the few years after the Berlin Wall fell. And there is high expectation that Turkey, because of its neighborhood full of hydrocarbons and particularly gas, would play a significant role in the provision of gas to Europe, thereby contributing Europe's energy security. the analysis of the region clearly shows that transiting gas and through Turkey to the Western Balkans and Southeastern Europe will, in fact, be a significant contribution. But I also tend to think that Turkey's potential contribution to Europe's energy security has been a little exaggerated, in the sense that the total amount of gas to be transited from Turkey in the foreseeable future is a minuscule amount, and I think the rapid growth and affordability of LNG is, in fact, Western Europe's key to its energy security. But this is why the regional approach, I find it very valuable, that the amount of gas, 1 BCM right now, and pretty soon 10 BCM through TANAP, and then maybe others at varied intervals, but one is not quite sure. But even 10 BCM is a very significant amount to reduce single source dependency of the region. And in that regard, I have a question. I don't think any one of us can answer that question, but certainly it's up to governments and financing of it. But Ionian Adriatic should be a priority connection to pump the gas up to the north to areas which really can be, their dependency could be reduced because they're very small markets, rather than pumping it across to Italy, which is not really short of any kind of gas. In fact, it's it is the glut itself. Those are my comments. One very short follow-up into what I said with respect to the transit security business. There is very little that I have seen consideration of the Turkish stream in this context. The Turkish stream, in a sense, is the fruition of a long-time Russian ambition to, in fact, dilute, if not control, the southern corridor as well. So we do not have a purely independent southern corridor any longer. What we considered a safe amount in the medium term of independent gas to be transited would be from KRG, and that, of course, right now, with the current situation, there is a question mark how soon and how much, by whose contract, that can be pumped. Thank you very much.
I will try to be as brief as I can and comprehensive at the same time. You've hit several aspects of Turkey's gas supply situation, and very rightly so. I mean, but we have, I think, first of all, to establish something which many people do not realize, that Turkey right now is the #2 energy consumer in Europe after Germany. Now, having said that, we have to look into the structure of gas development and gas use in Turkey, and gas has grown exponentially over the last few years. And we see now flattening the curve as other sources coming in as Turkey keeps its position on solid fuels, maintains its position strongly on solid fuels, develops further renewables, and shortly will be into nuclear. Having said that, it is important to realize that people outside Turkey have they have oversized expectations of what Turkey can contribute to European energy security and European energy supply. First of all, Turkey has to satisfy its own needs. This is #1 priority. So, apart from the TAP project, which allows part of its flow to go to Europe, don't forget, but a great part of TANAP gas will go to Turkey. So it's a multi-dimensional project in that it retains some gas for Turkey and some exports to Europe. But in order to do that, it had to become a huge pipeline with something like 30 BCM capacity. Many people do not realize that. They stick to the 10 BCM. 10 BCM is only the part which will go to Europe. Turkey it has the ability to get a lot more. So first of all, Turkey has to take care of its own gas. And in doing so, in order to secure its gas supply, it enters into very important strategic deals with other countries, read Russia, read Azerbaijan, read Iran, read LNG suppliers, and so forth. Because it has such a huge network and is going to grow even further, hence it has the ability to supply other countries either under long-term agreements or marginal contracts or marginal amounts from a Turkish basket. So I think what differentiates Turkey in terms of supplier from other countries in the region is that it has developed over the years its own brand, Turkish basket. So when a company outside Turkey does a deal with Turkey to buy gas, they don't buy Azeri, Russian, or Iran gas, they buy Turkish basket. So that means that Turkey has the ability, and this is where the gas hubs become so important, to determine its own price policy. So enough gas, controlling of price policy, enables the country to work out agreements with other countries, hence helps to develop the energy security. So far, so good. Now we have the problems. And the problems is that, like all fuels, gas also has a very strong political connotation. And to go very near to Istanbul, we only have to see where the Turkish stream is going to land and what are the plans for it to go. Part of it will go into the main gas network of the country, and another one planned is to go to the Greek-Turkish border, where Gazprom says to its Southeast European clients, come here to take your gas from the 1st of January 2020. But we cannot come. How can we come? Build the necessary infrastructure. Because in order for Turkish Stream to work operationally and economically, competitively, Gazprom will stop the gas supply through the South Balkan pipeline going to Romania, to Bulgaria, Greece, and Turkey. And you would imagine that this is a simple project. Yes, of course, it's a simple project, as Mr. Yardim knows, in terms much easier than Blue Stream, much easier, because it's all on land, but politically fraught with despair, because EU says, sorry, we cannot allow you to build a pipeline to take Russian gas to main Europe. Why? because we want to lessen gas supply. But don't we have a free market? Yes, we have a free market, but I'm the regulator. So I'm regulating that. I make your life really difficult. So by making the life really difficult, it doesn't make only the life of Turkey difficult, it makes the life difficult of all the other countries which want to diversify their supplies. So I won't go any further because the story gets really, really complicated. I want to refer to just one small example. Back in 2005, 2008, I was part of the original TAP team in Switzerland developing TAP. And they all thought at that time that we were crazy to discuss such a pipeline. When TAP started being drawn, the major gas suppliers considered were Gazprom and Iran. In fact, there was a contract signed with Iran for 5 BCM, and they were negotiating one with Gazprom for another 5 BCM. Fine, the whole thing collapses. Iran is the bad boy. We don't want to do deals. We have the embargo. Don't forget we had an embargo from 2007 to 2015. So TAP is going ahead meanwhile. They signed contracts with Azerbaijan. And now we have a situation where Azerbaijan has started importing gas from Russia because there has been a delay in the development of the gas supply in Caspian offshore. Doesn't mean that Azerbaijan doesn't have the necessary gas resources. It has the necessary gas resources, but there are problems, financial and technical problems and exploration problems. So Azerbaijan, which until now was a net exporter of gas, has started importing Russian gas to cover its own needs, so it can maintain its contracts with Turkey and with other regional players, Georgia, etc. So we see a situation where TAP may, in addition to Azeri gas, get also Russian gas. So the Southern Gas Corridor becomes a fully integrated corridor in terms of supply. Is that, sorry?
That explains an earlier comment you made that was a bit obscure. You just
right. So, and I'm not making all this. I mean, Oxford, the Oxford Energy Studies Institute produced a report last year outlining very eloquently the whole gas situation today in Azerbaijan. Don't forget that Azerbaijan, back in 2002, 2003, was a net importer of Russian gas while they were still developing their own gas. They managed to develop their own gas, they stopped imports from Russia, and now they started again. So that brings into the question Iran as a potential gas supplier, and also getting gas from Turkmenistan and also from Russia through different contracts. And I think this situation reinforces Turkey's situation because Turkey is in the middle and has to do the bartering.
Thank you. Let's go on to Ambassador Rende.
Thank you, Professor Difiglio. I would like to start by thanking you and the ICEC team for having organized this workshop. And I would like to warmly welcome Mr. Stamboulis and thank him for his comprehensive presentation. I think much has been said. I would like to also welcome some of our friends here with us, with whom we worked so hard and tried to formulate the Turkey's energy policy during the late 90s, and we had two basic elements when we tried to devise our energy policy and enhance the Turkish energy security. We said first of all, we need to improve Turkey's energy mix and to have diversification of routes and resources. And I think we managed to do this. And the second aim was to work and realize major energy projects, including pipelines and other things, to contribute to enhancing the European energy security, including the Southern Europe energy security. And I think we also achieved a great deal in this regard. We are still working. You rightly highlighted the importance of the Southern Gas Corridor. You might recall that it was introduced by the European Union as the fourth artery for Europe following the 2006 crisis. And it went well. I think TANAP-TAP, it's the backbone of this Southern Corridor, and it's going well. When we talk about energy security, I think we should keep in mind that what we need is affordable and uninterrupted energy provided in a sustainable manner, and this is it. I mean, the energy security, of course, is directly linked to our security also. So, and politically, it's not affordable not to have energy security, especially in our region. So, we think that in Turkey, we have worked towards achieving energy security of supplies. Turk Stream is another project that will probably contribute to the Southeast Europe energy security. Here, we should also keep in mind that the Turkey-Bulgaria interconnector should also be realized. I had the opportunity to discuss this matter with French, and they said that probably the Ukrainian or the Russian Turkey Western Corridor could be used to also to supply Southeastern Europe with Russian gas, which will arrive through Turk Stream. Because probably you might recall that we tried to establish Turkey-Bulgaria interconnector, and we couldn't convince Potash to build the pipeline because they said that there was no enough gas. Anyway, at this point in time, we can see that the energy mix is shifting towards renewables and towards natural gas. Natural gas is on the rise because of the fact that it is considered to be an intermediate energy resource, low CO2 emission, and because of the fact that it's quite difficult for Southeast Europe and Turkey to tap the potential of their renewables in a short period of time. So renewables, yes, but also Southeast Europe will be using more natural gas, and LNG is on the rise. You rightly highlighted this, Mr. Stamboulis. LNG is important. What we need is more LNG terminals, yes. We should expect also more LNG arriving from the United States in the years to come. And we should expect also a kind of competition between pipeline gas and LNG. The Qataris declared on the 2nd of April during the Tokyo Energy Conference that they decided to unilaterally lift the moratorium on the development of North Field. So we should expect also the Qataris to produce more gas, probably 22 billion cubic meters per annum in addition to what they have now. So we will have more gas arriving from different places. So the Southeastern Europe, including Turkey, we need more storage capacities, storage and regasification capacities. During the recent energy conference in Antalya, the Turkish energy minister declared that the second FSRU will be operational in Dörtyol during the month of November. I haven't heard, is it operational or is it yet? Not yet. But it will be probably by the end of November or during December. I think we need more FSRUs and more storage capacities, probably. Our policy has been to make use of indigenous energy resources, including burning coal. I don't feel so, I feel uneasy about it, but probably the Turkish government choice is to burn more coal. And I think Germany is burning more coal nowadays, thanks to the low coal prices of the United States. So United States switched to natural gas, and then they are selling their coal to Germany. Yeah, so we have a good argument now that if the Germans are burning coal, why should Turkey shouldn't burn coal? But when we talk about energy security, dear friends, of course, we should always keep in mind that it should be generated in a sustainable manner, because now one of the problems worldwide is the pollution. We are polluting our cities, so they are not, some of the cities are not livable anymore. And recently, Delhi had a serious problem, for example, New Delhi. This is why energy security can be provided by uninterrupted deliveries and with a sound, good energy mix. Do we have a good energy mix? I hope we can do it better by generating more through the PCs and solar. We should enhance our solar capacity, our wind capacity in Turkey, and also we should also keep in mind that in the energy mix, electricity consumption is growing. So there is a shift towards electricity use. And according also to the International Energy Agency, that by 2050 we will still have 50% of the energy generation coming from oil and gas. But we should expect oil, the share of oil to drop and gas to go up. So with respect to our location, yes, we are well placed, and Mr. Stamboulis rightly highlighted this. Turkey, given its geography, we are well located to be an energy hub. We have the infrastructure, and we have also the capacity and also the experience to protect major energy infrastructures, pipelines, etc. And therefore, we believe that if the necessary steps are taken, of course, we need to liberalize the market. The energy market, without liberalizing the energy market, we could not play this role of being energy hub, but it's a good opportunity, and we are aware that there are 3 countries now competing to be the energy hub of Southeast or Europe, or the Mediterranean, Eastern Mediterranean, Italy and Greece and Turkey. But between Turkey and Greece, there is more cooperation than competition, I believe.
Compatibility.
Yes. We have the Iraqi gas, which might also arrive. In fact, it was not considered to be feasible until Barzani has given up his desire or ambition to declare his independent state. But now it seems that if we are going to cooperate fully with the central government, and if we can engage in meaningful cooperation, that Iraqi gas, which is the cheapest in the region and easy to get and to pump through the system, probably it will also contribute to our role. As regards the Israelis and the Israeli gas, it's quite difficult. In one of the slides, you showed the pipeline through Crete towards Italy. During the recent STEAM Arena, one of our friends from Israel, Gina Cohen, she made also a presentation regarding the possibilities, and together with a friend from Charles Helinas, they both acknowledged the fact that this pipeline is not economically viable or environmentally sustainable, although the European Union I think, has provided already support for its feasibility study. But we should really keep in mind that it's quite difficult to build over 1,700 kilometers of pipeline to carry the Leviathan gas to Italy. It would be quite difficult. It's even difficult to build the 500 kilometers to 600 kilometers pipeline from Leviathan to Turkey. But we understand that the private sector, the Turkish private sector, and the Israeli private sector, they are quite eager to work on it and try to realize it. So we will see if it is a possibility. I can't guarantee that it's not that easy to build such a pipeline. But the Israelis, they don't want to build an LNG facility on their shores. The Egyptians will be self-sufficient by 2018 and net exporters by 2021. They might not be interested in having Israeli gas. And Israeli gas will be quite expensive, and its arrival in Turkey or in Europe will depend totally on the gas prices, the global gas prices. And they are tough negotiators, probably you know well, and Mr. Undersecretary, you know well also. But still, we wish, if we could, we hope that we can also get Israeli gas in Turkey and then to be transferred to Europe. You're right to say that the Turk Stream is not contributing to diversification of resources in Southeast Europe. But probably we will receive the 15.75 cubic billion BCM per annum. The rest will go, but it's not possible to send this amount, the big volume, through TAP. So the TAP, yes, and TAP has already encountered serious problems in Italy with the municipalities and so on. So I wish them the best of luck. It's not that easy to resolve the problems when you are dealing with municipalities, especially. This is why I think in order to enhance the security of supply in Southeast Europe, especially in the Balkans, which we mean, we need the Turkey-Bulgaria interconnector. So the reverse flow is possible. I was told by an expert that the present pipeline can easily be used to pump gas through Bulgaria, in addition to the Turkey-Greece interconnector. I think we should stop at this point, Professor. I should just would like to remind also Mr. Stamboulis that Turkey is the globally fifth largest gas importer at this point in time. But we hope that we can enhance our reception facilities. I think in the long run, we need to enhance our demand elasticity by having more storage capacity and regasification capacity. Thank you.
Thank you. Is this on? Okay, great. If you have any comments with regard to Ambassador Rende's comments, and I would like to piggyback a question to his comments in the last few moments, and that concerns the investments in pipelines, whether or not be the pipeline, the long pipeline that would go to Italy or the shorter pipeline to go from Israel to Turkey. Is there enough gas in the Eastern Mediterranean to justify those pipeline investments? I mean, there has to be a sustained supply of gas for a long time before those pipelines make sense. And how much geological information exists about the supply of gas in the region?
Okay. I think I will address first the points raised by Mithat Rende, and then I will come to your EastMed question. Let's start from the last observation, the reverse flow. Yes, the reverse flow of the existing South Balkan pipeline is possible, but we have to take into account that this is already an old pipeline. It was established back in mid-80s, even early 80s, was first Turkey and then Greece. It's the same pipeline. So according to some engineers I talked about, yes, it is possible, but it's a major project in terms of study, installation of compressor stations in order to upgrade in certain parts of the pipeline, especially in junctions, so you can organize the reverse flow. That will be the logical solution. Mm-hmm. But again, you will, because you will change the direction of the pipeline, you will enter into a new regulatory environment. Therefore, in order to use the existing pipeline in another direction, the countries that are going to use, that is Bulgaria, Romania, whatever, they'll still have to go to the EU to obtain regulatory permission. Mm-hmm. And there the problem starts because they will say, you bring us more Russian gas. Fine. Mm-hmm. So that's a point. Yes, technically it's the best solution. And not only that, but it could go even through Greece because it will use the existing Bulgarian network, and then it will re-enter Greece through Siderokastrom. So the infrastructure is there. However, we have to address the issue of regulation. And this is an area where I think Turkey can work closely with Greece and Bulgaria if it wants to advance this aspect of the pipeline. So there are two solutions, reverse flow and a new pipeline, not using TAP. TAP has a limited capacity to take another 15 or 20 or 30 BCM that will come through the Turkish stream. But in terms of Turkey's energy security supply, obviously Turkish stream brings this up to date as far as modernizing its import routes. I will now go to the East Med. The East Med is developing into a complex situation. A complex situation from the exporting point of view. It is easy for Israel because Israel had no gas before, now has gas, has started using gas. It has more gas coming into its shores, and it potentially has gas for exports, as you know. Leviathan, the companies controlling Leviathan are in discussion with Turkey to build this pipeline, but they're also in discussions with Egypt to use the idle terminals at Idgu and Damietta, and they're also in discussions with Greece and Cyprus in the East Med. So that they're playing in three sort of scenes at the same time. To play in two scenes in the gas or oil projects or energy projects is common and it's regular. But to play in three tableaux at the same time, it gets complicated. So what I'm trying to say, yes, gas is there from Israel, from Cyprus, and from Egypt, from the Zohr, because the Zohr project is not finished. There are all sorts of secondary fields around Zohr. So we may see Egypt actually producing a lot more gas than the one developing from Zohr. I think this is the view of the geologists I've talked to about Zohr. So yes, potentially gas is there. Taking this gas out, far away, that is outside the vicinity of Israel, Egypt, Cyprus, is difficult. The easiest routes are local routes, that is Israel to Turkey, or Cyprus to Egypt, or Israel to Egypt. I don't know whether I addressed the issue.
No, that's okay.
I mean, East Med gas was not complicated 5 years ago. Now it is complicated, and it's getting more complicated.
In fact, Israeli gas, the Israelis, Delek and their partners, they have been negotiating with everybody and trying to find the best means for them to make use of their gas. But they know that the market is not in their favor.
All right.
We'll take a few questions. Dawn, you have your hand first. Everybody please introduce themselves when they ask their questions.
Thank you very much. Doğan Öçok from IECEC. First of all, we are very pleased to have you here, Mr. Stambulis. You had a slide where there was this vertical
corridor.
Yeah, vertical corridor. My question is regarding that slide actually. You know, around like 10 years ago, the pipeline system or the pipelines competing via Turkey or under the Black Sea was there were two pipelines. One of them was the South Stream, and then one of them was the so-called Nabucco. And that vertical corridor would be named as Nabucco West had Nabucco been realized. But none of them is in the picture now because the pipeline picture and the geopolitics of the pipelines change very quickly. Now, 10 years after that picture, we have the Tanap Tap instead of Nabucco. Nabucco has not been realized. We have Tanap Tap. And instead of South Stream, now we have the Turkish Stream being realized. So complete the two new set of pipelines and the complete set of new picture. Now, my question is, an interesting thing has happened. You know, the Russia strategy was going to aiming at connecting South Stream to Bulgaria. Then, as you said, the European Commission or the European regulators made it very difficult, for Bulgaria to receive that gas. For reasons that actually this is a part of my question. I'd like to ask what exactly were the reasons that the European regulators, so they squeezed Bulgaria kind of to reject the South Stream. Then this made Putin quote unquote angry, and then he came to Istanbul, he came to Turkey and made the deal with President Erdogan, and if I cannot put this gas from Bulgaria into the Southeast Europe, then I'll connect it via Turkish Stream. I'll send it again to the same place. And also the second part of the question is, maybe again, as you said, the European regulators would make for the same reasons to reach off that gas to which countries, maybe to Austria's Baumgarten, because the initial Nabucco West was being planned until Baumgarten. So what will happen when Turkish Stream gas arrives? Will it be arriving to which countries in Southeast Europe? Will it arrive to Baumgarten? And what will the European regulators do to receive it? Or will they act the same way they acted to Bulgaria? Thank you very much.
Can I answer?
Maybe.
Thank you for your question. It's highly relevant and topical. The answer right now is that nobody knows what will happen to the extra gas that will come through Turkish Stream. The only certain thing is that the 15-point-something BCM will go to Turkey to replace the gas coming from the South Balkan. And even if you ask Gazprom to tell you today their plans, they don't know, or they won't tell you. Now, you're quite right. The reason for the agreement, apart from the rapprochement between Russia and Turkey, was that Russia was trying to find a way, was continuing its efforts to sideline Ukraine. Ukraine is the original problem. So it tried with South Stream, and South Stream was at a fairly advanced stage. Don't forget that it's not only Gazprom. You have 4 of the major European energy companies involved. We have 50%, the 4 major companies, and 50% Gazprom. Okay, Gazprom has the management and the design and the supplier. So, under technicalities, EU obliged Bulgaria to disassociate itself from the project because they used a contractor, and the contractor that they used had not bidded in the proper, official, and competent manner. So it was rejected on technicalities. But of course, the whole European Union works on technicalities. What is the problem? The problem is it was and is under different hats. The original hat of the problem was the USA was dead against Europe using more Russian gas. Using a second hat, the same wording, again, the USA is dead against Russia, Europe increasing its supply from Russia, but this time because they want to export their own LNG. The original excuse used by United States for several years was national security reasons. But USA is a continent apart. Why do national security rationale from USA's point of view applies to Europe? Inter alia, because if Europe is destabilized, theoretically, USA can be destabilized. Nobody can argue against that because, all the arguments are, respected. But that was the official reason. Now, the national security situation is going back into the horizon because USA is gradually disengaging from various things. Secondly, and most important, is becoming self-sufficient in terms of gas, and fairly soon self-sufficient on oil in about 10 years. And now it has one more interest, to export its own LNG. So for all sorts of reasons, USA does not want Europe to increase its supplies from Russia. So it will use any technicalities, any sideways, any means to object to that. The question is also from our side, what do we want? What do we think is preferable or advantageous to us? So, unfortunately, as far as independent policy formulation is concerned in our part of the world, we are at a disadvantage. Back in 1985, when Greece started negotiating with the Russians for importing the first time of gas, we had the curious situation of the USA ambassador visiting the Greek energy minister saying, Mr. Minister, my country is against Greece importing Russian gas. And the minister was saying, why? I mean, our neighbor Turkey already has signed the agreement. Oh, forget Turkey, it's a different situation. We're talking about Greece. So we don't want any. So it happened 3 times. I know this from personal sort of, discussions. And then the minister went to the prime minister, who was Papandreou at that time, and said, we have this American ambassador coming to me twice, and he's going to come again to my office next day. I don't know what to say. And Papandreou said, look, yes, we want them. I mean, we're fully in agreement not to import Russian gas, provided that they will bring us their own gas or whatever they want. So the ambassador goes back for the 3rd time, and the minister says, I have news for you. Our prime minister is in full agreement for us not to import Russian gas, but you have to help us import gas because it's a decision we have taken, it's backed by the EU, and we want to introduce gas into our system. And of course, the ambassador never returned. And Greece went ahead and signed the agreement and started using gas. Now, unfortunately, we're not in that advantageous situation as we used to be because USA has one more card, being a big country, has one more card in its sleeves, which is LNG exports. Sorry, it took me a little longer to explain the issue.
And I'll just note that the price spreads between Henry Hub in the 4th quarter of this year are likely to open up to $5 or $6 a million cubic feet.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a strong economic incentive to move gas from the Gulf Coast of the United States to Europe.
Yeah.
So we had a question over here.
Undersecretary.
We'll take a couple questions and then both of them up.
I have just a short question. My name is Yurda Kuliyit Güden, former Undersecretary of Energy and former Director of OSCE. Mr. Stambolis, you know much better than me from the region, when South Stream was killed, and there is no doubt whether South Stream nor Turkish Stream are contributing to the European natural gas supply security or energy security. When South Stream was killed, behind the scenes, immediately European regulators went to the Russians and said, you can build Nord Stream 2. And the situation in Southeast Europe was really furious. When you spoke behind the scenes with the decision makers in these countries, they were so upset. Why is this harmful when it arrives in Bulgaria, and it's not harmful if it arrives in Germany? So there are some technicalities. You put Nord Stream into the second package and this one in the third package. But how is the feeling now in Southeast Europe about the Turkish Stream?
Oh, thank you. I'm Iskender Gökalp, the founding director of the French Energy Institute. It's rather a comment, but first, thank you for the presentation and the comments. Well, energy security is a huge subject, of course, and it has many important elements. One is the energy sources or materials that we discussed today, like oil and gas. But this is not the energy. This is just the energy, whatever, material. To get the energy, you need to convert this to real energy. And there you have the second major element, which is the technology. So I'm wondering how we should include this second major element. Of course, you have the financing and everything, organization, etc., into our discussion on the energy security. And just to finish, in fact, you know that even for the first part, to distribute the natural gas, you need the gas turbines for the pumping stations. So for gas turbine, for natural gas, in fact, the major technological element is the gas turbine. Thank you.
Serhat Uluda from Global Investment Holdings. Thank you very much for your presentations and your discussions. My question is about the East Med gas, especially the gas in the Cyprus EE zone. The gas in Cyprus was deemed as one of the main elements of energy security for Europe because of its size and its position in the European country zones, and it was used as a bait actually to solve the Cyprus problem between Turkish and Greek Cypriots. But those discussions failed after so many years, and there doesn't seem to be any resolution of the problem in the near future, in the next few years to come, maybe even longer. At this point, there were some discussions and views popping up mentioning that Cyprus problem does not need to be solved for the gas in East Med, including Cyprus gas, to flow into Turkey. What do you think about this? Is this relevant, the Cyprus problem resolution? Is it relevant or not? And my question goes to all the panelists. Thank you very much.
Okay. I'll start with Dr. Yiguden's observation about Turkish Stream and what is the sentiment right now in Southeast Europe. I think that, of course, most governments are happy that the Turkish Stream is going ahead. There's no doubt about that. But they're anticipatory as to its second stage. Whereas when South Stream had been established and agreements were signed with all the countries, were very hopeful that they would diversify supplies, etc., and it would also impact the price. Now they're very, not hesitant to accept, but they're very anticipatory in the sense that they have reservations as to whether the second leg, that is towards Southeast Europe, is going to materialize because of the complications that have arisen from EU's views, USA pressure against realization of this project, that is the extension of Turkish Stream to Europe. They want this because this is a one-way street, but again, they're very hesitant. When it comes to, let me give you a very small example. If Turkish Stream extension via Greece, or even the reverse flow, is not realized, Greece and then Bulgaria will come to Turkey to establish separate agreements to import gas, because they won't be able to import the gas from Russia. So you'll have a different situation and completely different picture. Now, Greece is in the fortunate situation that it already has an interconnector which started operation in 2007, so already 10 years operation of Greek-Turkish interconnector without many problems, very few problems, always during winter where we have, you know, gas demand goes up, sometimes the deliveries are not that on time. But overall, it's a good cooperation. It has worked for both parties. And the interesting thing is that this interconnector is grossly underutilized. It has a 5.5 BCM capacity, and we only import 0.75. So if the worst comes to the worst, Greece, DEPA, or whichever will negotiate an agreement with both us to import Turkish basket through this pipeline. So you see what it will be the impact of Turkish Stream not being realized as far as its Southeast European end is concerned. So we have problems there. Now let's go to the observation by our French colleague on technologies. Yes, technologies are very important. In fact, in our study, we devote a whole chapter on technologies and what it means for developing energy in Southeast Europe. And we see technology's role as very important in improving energy efficiency. Just to give you an example, 3 weeks ago, we were in Bucharest, and we had a presentation in an academic audience. And we showed our projections of how the Romanian energy demand is going to go, and also what is the installed power generation over the next years until 2050. And the installed generation was something like 24,000 megawatts, 24 gigawatts, from the present about 15 gigawatts or 16. And we got a lot of criticism saying, why is it not higher? It's not higher because of demographics, because of economics, that is lower use, but also because of plants becoming more efficient and generally the energy use in the country becoming more efficient on the basis of information we have. So this efficiency is a result of better technology and more accessible technology. So technology is definitely going to play a very important role as the energy systems of the countries develop further and we have diversification of energy supplies. So you were very right to point out this aspect. Now let's come to the Cyprus problem. As you know, the Cyprus problem was there and is there for many years and did not actually wait for gas to be discovered in order to be solved. At one point, I think negotiators from both sides thought that gas could be an accelerator in solving or getting the two communities together, and the guarantor countries also more committed to this process of solving the situation. But, as you know, the negotiations collapsed, and the gas never actually formed part of the negotiations. It was part of the whole rationale that if we manage to get the Cyprus problem solved and we have a new bizonal federation, bizonal federation community, then obviously the whole of Cyprus, that is not only south but also the Turkish part, is going to benefit. And on that there are not any arguments on that. I mean, this is clearly understood. And I think also it is understood from the Greek Cypriot side that any proceeds that will start to come from gas, which will not be before 2021, 2022, part of this, according to the information we have, will go to an escrow account, so it will be available as to when the two communities will form part of the same country again, so that funds could be used for the development of northern Cyprus. So that is the thinking, but right now I don't think, as the situation is with the negotiations fully collapsed and yet pending new negotiations, that the forthcoming gas supply from Cyprus is going to help at all the negotiations. The crux of the problem is not the gas, it's the political element of the problem and of the two communities and the guarantor countries. So, provided a solution is found, gas will be a very big benefit for the development of the country. But even now, as Cyprus stands, they have been trying for the last 5 years to find a solution how to monetize this gas, which is confirmed. And right now they're negotiating with Egypt, and hopefully by the end of 2018, early 2019, they will have an agreement for exporting 8 BCM a year from Aphrodite alone. So, it has been discovered since 2011, and now this is 2017, and they don't have an agreement in their hands. So the situation is problematic. Anyway, sorry, I was not able to throw more light into this, Cyprus. But the Cyprus problem is not something that we have spent time thinking about. We are concerned, we follow, but this is a little peripheral to our interests.
He said also to panelists.
But maybe at one point, yes, we should, as an institute, organize a conference or a meeting or a workshop to discuss the role of natural gas in finding a solution. That is not extravagant. It can happen.
Well, we're going to close this off real quickly, but before I do, I'd like to give the ambassador a chance to say something about the Cyprus situation as well.
Yes, thank you for the question. When the Greek Cypriots decided to grant licenses and start drilling, the Turkish Cypriots approached them and asked them to stop exploration until a comprehensive settlement has been reached in Cyprus, so that they could commonly decide on the exploration and exploitation of the resources in the EEZ or in the continental shelf of the island. But it was not the case, so Aphrodite they strike gas, and then the Turkish Cypriots, you might recall that they also declared their own zones for drilling, for exploration, and they granted the license to TPAO, to the Turkish Petroleum Company. And now TPAO has the license to drill in the offshore of the island, in the continental shelf. The Turkish Energy Minister also recently declared that they are intending to start deep sea drilling. I understand that they will be buying a $200 million a platform, a vessel, deep sea drilling vessel. and they will start drilling around the island. But whether they will go as far as the southern part near Aphrodite's or not, it remains to be seen. With respect to the pipeline, your question was about the pipeline. The best solution would be to have Aphrodite's gas and Leviathan gas together, and to be with one pipeline to be used, and to have a compressor station in the island. That would be the cheapest and easiest way to pump gas to Turkey. But given the present political environment, it is highly unlikely that that is going to happen. The second possibility is that the Israelis, together with Turkey, with the Turks, they agree on a pipeline. And according to UNCLOS, Article 79, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, Article 79, there is no obligation to seek the open support, consent or approval of the related country to build a pipeline at deep sea, beneath the sea. However, there is a need for the related country, the country concerned, to decide on the routes of the direction of the pipeline. And also, of course, they will seek the environmental impact assessment and the other impacts. So it's quite difficult. The best way would be to reach a comprehensive settlement sooner or later. But to be soon is the best way. If another chance, if Turkey decides to go and drill with the new technologies and strike gas, it might be quite useful. Because if Turkey is going to strike gas to explore, to be successful in its exploration efforts, then probably the Greek Cypriots, and if they find enough gas to monetize, as Mr. Stambouli says, then probably it could contribute to the resolution of the matter. Because the only game changer at this point in time, as regards the Cyprus problem, question, is that to encourage the Greek Cypriots to reach together with the Turkish Cypriots to comprehensive settlement. If there is enough gas to monetize, it might be possible, but I'm not that optimistic about the future of this matter. Thank you.
Just a short, yeah. Very, very useful observation by Ambassador. And I think, and that's not only my view, but it's the view of our institute, that the oil and gas issues between Greece and Turkey and Cyprus have not been addressed at an open level. We believe strongly that there is a need for a serious discussion, not only at government level, but between organizations like ours, to take the lead, to start discussing seriously what it means developing oil and gas resources in the Aegean and in Cyprus. As I said in the very start of my presentation, we believe firmly that energy is a unifying area of activity. And on this basis, I think it would be advisable for different countries with different interests, but in the same region, to get together and start talking about this. From our part, 4 years ago, we organized a workshop in Athens on oil and gas exploration in the region. And for the first time, we had TPAO following our invitation, not a government invitation, our invitation as IENE, coming to Athens. And also there was a senior official from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Turkey, from Ankara, participating in this closed seminar. And we discussed fully what it means developing certain parts of the Aegean in terms of oil. And we had the oil people from the government and non-government on both sides on this issue. So what I want to say is that we are committed to such, call it track 2 processes or whatever. We are committed to the dialogue, but we have to organize the dialogue. There's no question talking about the dialogue, we have to do it. And we are open in this respect to discuss both gas use in Turkey around south, north, east, west, and also in the Aegean. And I think you should take this into account, that we are willing to use our good offices to facilitate such a discussion.